I want to let you know that. There's a Globe and Mail story to that effect, I think, yesterday. These strikers are actually still getting paid, but I put it to you, they are doing no less work now than they did last week. How do you know they're on strike? Are you sure? Are you sure about that? Last year I tried to get my passport renewed. It took, 6 months when they were not on strike. Is it any different now? I don't really know. I bet it's quicker. Now. How about the airport man? Yeah, look at that. PSAC workers strike. Federal public servants will continue getting regular salaries until at least May 10th. That's just so amazing. And again, who's even tracking it? Who even cares? It's just government money. And on the one hand, you've got the government negotiating with the government union, and they're using play money. They're using other people's dough. It's other people's money. And what do they care? Justin Trudeau had a statement about it today. I haven't seen this yet. Let's watch it together. Justin Trudeau talking about the strike. Does he even notice? I don't know. Let's take a listen.
The government just got a handle on things like the passport backlog and trying to make headway on immigration backlog, and now there's the risk that it starts all over again. What is your response to that? Is it frustrating for you that you're back to ground zero here?
Well, I think, first of all, understanding the importance of defending the rights to collective bargaining, the rights people have to job action. This is something that's really important for our government. So yes, it's frustrating to know that Canadians may, as the days come, have more difficulty accessing services, but that's a motivator for everyone to try and resolve this. The union is certainly very aware of Canadians' impatience, and they have to calibrate that carefully. As a government, we are there to respect collective bargaining. We're there to make progress at the table. And right now, progress is being made. There's an ebb and flow in these negotiations always, but we're going to continue to stay positive and disrupt.
First of all, what does that mean? It's a motivator for everyone to settle. Why would PSAC be motivated? What do they care? Like literally, what do they care? They're negotiating against perhaps the worst negotiator in the world right now. Justin Trudeau negotiated a payment to Volkswagen, one of the largest companies in the world, a $13 billion payment to have them build a $7 billion factory in Ontario. He is literally the world's worst negotiator. And the only thing worse than his answer was the stupidity of the question. Is it frustrating for you? Hey, Justin Trudeau, you're not the decider here. You're not the prime minister. You're not the decision maker. You're not the one who has any responsibility here. So I'm not going to ask you, why did you let this happen? Or how much money are you going to blow making this go away? I'm going to ask you a feelings question that implies you're the victim. Is it frustrating for you? In fact, the preamble was implying that he had fixed things. He had fixed the passport mess. He had fixed the immigration backlog. He had fixed is it frustrating for you, Prime Minister? You fixed everything. You did, personally. And these people are being so frustrating. Aren't you frustrated? That's your question. I wonder who the reporter was, but really, doesn't matter. They're all non-player characters. They're all clones. They're all on the same team. There is no difference between a Global News reporter and a CBC reporter and Toronto Star reporter and Globe and Mail reporter. On one or two issues, on the China issue, I think Global and the Globe and Mail have stepped up. First time in 8 years. But Prime Minister, you've done such a great job. Aren't you frustrated with these strikers? Yeah. I sent you a few more vids in the Slack channel there. I just saw a few vids, and I want to show you who these strikers are, and these just made me chuckle. Do you want to play some of those vids I sent you? Like just. Yeah, I don't know exactly what that is. And listen, my dancing's not much better. That reminds me a little bit of Elaine Bennis for those who are over 40. And you know the dancing moves she had that were sort of epileptic. little bit cringe. They reminded me of those dance videos that the bored nurses did. Yeah, here's another one. What's the sound on this one? Okay. What's the next one? I think I sent over 3 or 4. I don't even remember what they were. I just sort of clipped them. Let's take a look at this next one. You know, it reminds me of the demographics of the public sector union, which is overwhelmingly middle-aged women. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's some jobs that are overwhelmingly male: construction working, deep sea fishing, military, prison guards. These are overwhelmingly male jobs. And being a government sector bureaucrat is overwhelmingly a middle-aged woman's job, which may also explain why Trudeau is so sympathetic to them, because if you look at demographics, every single poll, Trudeau has a very strong wage gap. Men simply do not vote for Justin Trudeau, and young men. The last poll I saw that broke it down by demographics, young men, I'm talking about men between 18 and 29, who vote Liberal, who say they will vote Liberal, it's less than 20%. And in the prairies, to try and find a man under 30 who votes Liberal, it's getting down there close to 10%. And that's the funny thing about a gender gap like that is, let's say the Liberals are at, I don't know, I'm just going to pick a number, 30% in the polls. And they have a gender gap, so I'm just going to make up a number. So that implies that they're at 20% with men and 40% with women, right? If it's averaging out at 30. And I'm just making up numbers here, although they are around 30. So there's 2 ways you can express that. You could say, oh my God, the Conservatives have a gender problem with women. Or you could say, oh my God, the Liberals have a problem with men. No men support Justin Trudeau. How has it been phrased these last 8 years? Because a disproportionate number of men vote Conservative. That's not a positive thing, though. It's positive that Justin Trudeau has a disproportionate number of women. I expect he will give these middle-aged Liberal voting bureaucrat women an enormous payout because they're on his team. They're his base. There's not a lot of anger in those protests. There's not a lot of conviction at all because they're not really striking over anything. They haven't been hard done by. They've been getting, the government is spending more now on the public sector than they literally ever have in history. There's nothing to be complained about. It's just an opportunistic cash grab. I presume there'll be an election perhaps later this year, so they just want to get the money now, thinking that they can put pressure on Trudeau so he doesn't have a strike before the election. Now, it's interesting because the last time I was at a public protest in Ottawa was just over a year ago, a year and a couple months ago, I guess, when I went to Ottawa for what I knew would be special. I didn't realize how history-making it would be. I'm talking about the trucker protest, a peaceful protest that did 2 things wrong from a legal point of view. There were people who parked where they shouldn't have parked for longer than they parked, so there was parking tickets. And they honked their horns at night. And I would agree with the characterization that they caused a disturbance. I think that was their point. And when local residents went to a judge and said, "Can you make them stop honking their horns, please?" the judge issued an order to that effect, and the trucker stopped. So there was no violence. There were no threats. The government was so desperate to trump up that narrative that there was violence that they ascribed violence to the convoy that was not the convoy's. They claimed some arson was the convoy's fault. Obviously, that's laughable. But the media and the Liberals, but I repeat myself, were so horny for that story they ran it. But let me contrast that with these PSAC workers. Let me start with a modest thing. There was some therapist clinic for disabled kids. And the shouting and the swearing and the banging of the PSAC workers outside was terrifying the special needs kids. And they put out a little message to this effect. Here, take a look at this little video. Although we respect your right to strike, we are asking strikers to find another public space, since the constant honking and yelling are scaring our special needs children who come to therapy at our clinic. Very peaceful, very respectful, very pleasant letter. How's that different from the truckers? Well, yeah. But that's not it. See, that's just being noisy. And by the way, I think you have the right to be noisy. And listen, you don't want to upset kids. We have worked very hard to create welcoming. Anyhow, listen. So they're worried about the noise for these special needs kids, and I'm not going to be too dainty about it. You know, peaceful protests, you're allowed to make a little bit of noise, even if you don't really know why you're striking, and you just want extra money because you're a liberal and you think you deserve it. That's fine. But I saw a video, Efron, do you know the one where they kicked a car and attacked a car and threatened and there was some violence? Yeah, let's take a look at this one. This is City News, striking federal workers escalate. Take a look.
And now on day 6, with no deal in sight, things are ramping up. Our cameras captured a clash between striking workers and a driver leaving the service center this morning.
We are asking people to sort of stand with us in solidarity for a moment, for 10 minutes. Previously, we were holding people for 5 minutes, but now we're doing 10 minutes. People have been pretty receptive, actually, so that's great. We haven't had too many issues.
Another tactic now coming into play, disrupt the economy. A media rep for the Public Service Alliance of Canada tells me as of today, striking workers are hampering access to some Canadian ports, including the Port of Montreal. And now on day...
Oh, just that, eh? Well, funny, because when the truckers briefly blocked the Ambassador Bridge between Windsor, Ontario and Detroit, Michigan, the police moved in pretty heavy, and that was one of the last straws before Trudeau said, this is an economic crisis. We must deploy the military or riot police. So you've got blocking cars. I think they were kicking the car also. They're saying we are detaining people for 5 or 10 minutes. Oh, can you do that? Can I do that to you? Can I hold you prisoner? Can I falsely imprison you for 5 or 10 minutes and brag about it to the media and have silence from the police and from the government? The truckers honked their horns and had a little hot tub party, and they did some dancing too. Wasn't quite as cringe as the dancing I've shown you the last 20 minutes. And they had their bank accounts seized, and they were stomped on by ride horses, and our own reporter, Ezra Levant, was shot by an RCMP officer. The only person in the entire trucker convoy time period, January and February, there was many days, tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of people. The only person who was shot just happened by coincidence to be a Rebel News reporter. Do you think that was coincidence? Do you really think it was coincidence? I should tell you, we're suing the RCMP. We've found the name of the disgraceful thug who shot her. The RCMP has disclosed the name and nature of the weapon, and in fact has provided us with the training manual to look at the weapon, to learn about it. And I can tell you right now that the weapon was improperly used, and it was used contrary to its purpose. You don't take a riot gun like that and shoot it at someone like that. That is an insane thing to do, especially when it's not a protester, when it is a journalist simply holding her phone like that. That is explicitly against the training manual. And this thug just did it. I should tell you, the RCMP investigation, they're investigating their own cop. It's clearly a whitewash. I can tell you right now, they're going to whitewash it. They waited more than a year before even interviewing the cop involved. You don't do that if you care about fixing a problem. It's a disgrace. Brenda Lucki, what she has done to the RCMP is an absolute disgrace. But my point today is, here you have PSAC deliberately and threatening to shut down a port, attacking a vehicle, holding people falsely imprisoned for 5 or 10 minutes, and not even a word, let alone a cop. The whole point about the legal system is everyone has to know that the rules apply the same to everyone. And the reason for that is so you believe in the system even when it deals you a hand you don't like. We have to all believe it's fair enough so that when we lose, we still respect the rules of the game. But if the rules are only applied against one team and not the other, then the administration of justice is brought into disrepute, and I'm afraid that is happening here, at least from what I'm seeing.
That's a clip from something we call Rebel News Daily. It's our daily live stream hosted by my friend David Menzies, but the show also includes a rotating cast of hosts and special guests, including me. It's a great way for us to talk about the news of the day as the news is happening in an unscripted fashion, and it's an awesome way for you to interact with us as well. We stream every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Mountain, wherever you find Rebel News. See you there.